So I was just laying here thinking a little bit this morning that I was labeled very sensitive as far back as I can remember, which has kind of been something that I've strongly disliked. And most vividly, I remember someone in my class, fourth grade, Mrs. Seavey's class, and his name was John. I won't say his last name, but his name was John, fairly common name. And he's like, Alex, you're so sensitive. And it's really funny because now I'm 40, and that one line that he said to me in fourth grade has like really stuck with me. Like, I literally feel like someday I'll be on my deathbed and I will still remember what he said to me in fourth grade. It's funny, the things that stick. And it's just, I don't blame him. Obviously, it was fourth grade, but I guess I just always looked at it as like a really bad thing, something that I did not want to be. But it's really difficult when it feels like your whole essence is something. Because I think when he said that to me, it like struck a chord, because I just felt it in my whole being that he kind of like had me all figured out. And it's probably something that is really, if you are a very sensitive person, it's something extremely almost private to yourself. And well, I guess I just want to make this video especially for people that are in that category, that do see themselves as maybe overly sensitive or labeled as being really quiet, that maybe it can actually be our superpower. And I wish someone, I know people always say this when they get older, but I really, really wish that back then in grade school that I knew what I know now. Not only that, I wish I believed what I believe now, because I just feel like it would have saved me so much hardship and internal struggle. Because I think being an extremely sensitive person is something that is it's very difficult to live with that, because I guess for me it's something that's always felt just kind of normal, because it's maybe unpleasant, but normal because it's just kind of what I've always known. But I think I have always been aware that it has been not so normal in a way, because just by looking at my peers and people around me, they just seem like normies, where they weren't overly internalizing every little thing. And I think that, sorry, I get in my head a little bit when I'm on camera, then I lose my train of thought. But yeah, it's kind of seen as this bad thing. But now that I'm older, especially since I've gotten into spirituality, I feel like that being overly sensitive can actually be almost like a gift. But it is also kind of like a curse, because you just feel things on every level, which is not easy, because when I walk into a room, I instantly take on whatever energy I'm being confronted with. And something I've always really struggled with is people that are kind of just, I don't know, like really cross and surly and because I just take that on. But I think as you get older, you can find ways to work through it and actually maybe use it to your advantage, and even find jobs where being like that will be really beneficial. And so I think fairly early on, I realized that working with older people was a good way for me to go, because when you age, you lose a lot of your ego. You're usually way less judgmental. Old people they just kind of are. They're just there. They've already lived a whole lifetime. And I can walk into an old folks home or nursing home or assisted living, and I just instantly feel at ease. So, and I work at an assisted living now, and it's kind of just almost like that feeling like you're going to your grandparents' house, but every day for work. And so I think generally most of us can probably feel that when you go to your grandparents' house, it should be like one of the safest places that you can go to. And as a highly sensitive person, I don't think it's completely about finding a way to escape situations. That it's more about finding a situation that works with how you're built or how you're wired. And maybe being highly sensitive also makes you do a job really well when you're working with older people, because maybe you're a lot more empathetic too, and you can feel what they're feeling, and you can anticipate their wants and needs, and maybe you even have more patience with them. So it's just high school and grade school can just be such a difficult time, because you get these labels really early on about people just kind of summing you up as this thing. And if you're not careful, you can internalize that very early on, and you can almost believe that that's completely all that you are, which couldn't be further from the truth. And now being into spirituality, I look at it as it's not an easy thing, but I've taken myself out of the victim mode, where I believe that before we incarnate, that we actually choose our lives. And so I believe that maybe I chose a life where I was going to be this really more quiet, shy, introverted, highly sensitive person. And just literally the fact of knowing that I may have chosen a life like this makes it so much easier for me to deal with. Because yes, it's going to be something that is difficult for probably the rest of my life. But literally just the shift of knowing that maybe this is something that I chose, it kind of makes it kind of neat to me. It's almost like you've taken on a mission. And everyone chooses their own mission. Some people might choose to come down as a drug addict, or someone might come down to have like a life of ease maybe, or someone might be choosing a life where they're born into an abusive family. And just because you choose something doesn't mean that what's happening is right or wrong necessarily, but it's just there's probably huge amounts of life lessons that on a soul level that we can learn. So I guess I want to say that if you are a highly sensitive person, or even if maybe you know someone that seems too sensitive, um, it's it's important to look at people like that, like they have value to society, because I really believe that all of us are totally unique and we all have something to bring to the table. And we're taught from a really young age that, especially in high school, if you're the class clown, or you have no problem getting up and doing your presentation, or you're like really good at sports, that's like the prime person, and you're going to be like, you're like earmarked for success for the rest of your life. But the quiet kid, the overly sensitive one, they're the kid that needs to be worked on. Like, maybe they should just go to therapy, or, maybe something's not quite right with them. And I just don't agree with that at all now. And there's so many other things that I want to say about that too, in regards to like teachers trying to coerce quiet, sensitive kids into doing things that the other kids are doing because they think it's good for them. I don't think that's always right too. And I don't always think that they're doing it with bad intentions. But I guess I just have a really unique perspective because I have always been one of those highly sensitive people. So, yes, you don't want to feel bad about yourself if you're one of those people, because you are extremely important just the way that you are, and could actually have something highly beneficial to society. We each have our own gifts. So, well, I guess I think I'll just leave it at that for now. Trying to get some practice here, just talking to the camera about especially things like this. It's always harder to talk about really personal things. But at the end of the day, I think talking about our deepest, most personal things can be the things that can really help people the most. So it is worth being a little vulnerable sometimes. So anyways, well, have a drink here. I wish you all a very happy weekend, or whatever day that you happen to be watching this. I hope that you're having a good start to the day, with maybe a fresh perspective on highly sensitive people.